care about. WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk, 1330, FM 106.3.
And good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice Show here on August the 22nd, 2019. We've got special guests this morning, Coach Mike Cain and Coach Paul Fitz-Simmons. I guess Mr. Paul Fitz-Simmons, athletic director.
We still call him.
Once you're a coach, you can never go back, can you?
That's right. I appreciate that.
It's so awesome to have you guys in the building this morning, and we're talking about some important stuff today. Health for athletes. Nothing can beat that, right, Coach?
Absolutely. That's our number one concern when it comes to our athletes at Carrollton High School and across the city school system.
You can come up to the mic just a little
sorry.
bit. No, you're fine. You're fine. We'll get it all. But how's the school year started off? Real quick before we get into some questions. August got here faster than expected as usual.
It sure did. I've been in education for about 15 years, and this is the best start to a school year that I've ever been a part of.
Awesome.
I think a lot of that, honestly, has to do with our new building. We're completing phase 3 of the new high school, and the kids are keeping it clean, and they're acting great. And this is the cleanest our cafeteria has ever been. They're taking their trash, they're taking their trays. It's been very good. It's been a great start to the year.
Coach, what about for you?
I'm right there with Coach Fitz-Simmons. I think just the excitement around our campus is infectious. Our kids are happy. We got beautiful buildings up there. Eventually we're going to open up that new Pope McGinnis activity center. And I think that's just everybody is so excited around the community about this. Our kids are excited about it. Our coaches are excited about it. There's just a lot of buzz around Carrollton High School, and it's just something fun to be a part of.
So much going on at Carrollton, but something coming up on Monday that's going to be important for all the athletes. And you guys have a lot of athletes, obviously, multiple sports, over 20 sports and competitions. So talk about those athletes and what's coming up on Monday.
Well, this Monday we have what we're calling as an athletic open house and informational session. Like you said, we are one of the only schools around in this region, in this area, that we do offer and every single GHSA sanctioned sport. And we have a lot of policies. We have a lot of medical information that we need to distribute to parents, and so this is a chance for all of us to get together. This Monday was the best open date that we have, and in my eyes, as a parent myself, you can't know enough about policies and what we have in place for children, and so this is just an opportunity that we have for parents to come and sit down with us as they come and get their student athlete from practice, and they can sit down with us at 6:30 and we can distribute that information.
Awesome.
And along with what Coach is saying is, we like to call ourselves the gold standard at Carrollton High School. We like to set the standard not only in our community, but we want to set the standard across the state. We want to sit here and say, this is how it needs to be done. So our big thing is we're not only just going to reach out to our parents, we're going to reach out to the recreation centers. The information, the part of the information that Coach is going to give them may not apply to them right this second, but in a few years when their kids are now part of us, they're going to need to know that. But then the back half, the sudden cardiac awareness that we're gonna go over, that's something that everybody needs to be aware of. That's walking down the street, someone could fall out on you on the street. At a family dinner. So it's something that the parents need to know, not only for their kids, but just for their well-being as well.
Well, I think it's an awesome thing for the kids, for people like you to care for them so much, and maybe the parents don't see that, but y'all been planning this for months. I mean, this is something that the kids and the families don't understand, I don't think, off the top right now, but they're definitely going to get it coming up on Monday.
Absolutely. I think, as soon as Georgia High School came out with this, I think it was mid-July, I think I sent Coach Fitz-Simmons a message saying, okay, how do you want to go about doing this? So we've been planning this since as soon as Georgia High School put this on our radar, and we knew that we needed to do a good job of getting this information out.
And from the sheets you guys gave me, there's going to be a lot more people involved just besides you. Talk about the doctors and the folks in town in Carrollton that are making this thing possible as well.
Well, right now, what we're looking at is obviously Coach Fitz-Simmons, myself will be the two main speakers, but our concussion physician and team doctor, Dr. Michael Poss, who's over there at Southwire, is going to be involved with this. We haven't gotten confirmation, but we're trying to get one of the lead cardiologists in the area, Dr. Arant, to come in and speak as well, along with Nurse Susan Hall, who's going to give a demonstration on CPR, hands-only CPR, and then proper placement as far as the AEDs. So I mean, there's a lot of working parts with this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're very, very fortunate at Carrollton to have, you know, we have 2 athletic trainers on site. We have 3 nurses in our system. We have, 100% of our coaches that are certified in CPR and AED training. And this is just an opportunity for all of us to get together. When we hear stories of cardiac arrest or heat-related illness, and, in my eyes, and I'm very proud of the fact that I don't think there is a safer. Carrollton is as safe as any
Right.
place. We have a lot of resources put in place to help keep our student athletes safe, and this is just an opportunity for our parents and and us to all get on the same page.
So at Carrollton, we have you, of course, Coach Cain, but we also have another athletic trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Coach Bright a little bit and what she's meant to you and meant to the entire athletic department over at Carrollton High School.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't like to invoke Will Muschamp, but the old saying, he's a heck of a recruiter.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, she is the best athletic trainer in the state of Georgia. I make no bars about it. She is the greatest thing that we could have brought in here to Carrollton High School, because the biggest thing is that we've tagged her with the title Head Women's Athletic Trainer. So she's taken our girls' sports, our women's sports, and taken that to another level. The health care for them is phenomenal what she's able to do. A lot of our female sports, as soon as school's out, they're right back. They're right into practice. They may not have had the time to come see me on a daily basis, but now they're able to get treatment and rehab exercises from Coach Bright, along with Coach Bright's able to give her kids in the healthcare sciences classroom a hands-on approach and a hands-on experience within a safe classroom setting. So what she's done is, one, she's given me somebody that I can lean on, somebody I can trust at all times. I like the fact that if she's covering a softball game, I can go home and be with my family and know that my softball team, that Lisa Phillips and her softball team are in great hands, and it's very, very peaceful for me to be able to let go of the reins a little bit. So what she's done and what she does for our athletes is incredible, and I cannot speak more highly of who she is and what she's done.
And I think it's great that Carrollton realizes that the kids' safety is the number one priority, and having, with all the competition, all the sports that you guys have, having multiple people on deck to help out is huge. Does the GHSA have something in place? I think we talked about it earlier that is required. I know at each game there's a required trainer to be there. Is that right? But by school, there's not a rule in place to have a trainer.
I don't think Georgia High School, I think it's recommended that there's some form of medical personnel there. I don't think it's required that an athletic trainer is there, but I do know that most of them require or is highly recommended that there's some medical personnel on site to handle any kind of medical emergencies.
All right, well, with this, we'll take our first break here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, and when we come back, we'll get talking about Senate Bill 60.
A well-rounded education includes much more than just academics. At Oak Mountain Academy, we encourage our students to find their niche in any of our 42 co-curricular opportunities. Over the past 5 years, we have brought home 5 state and 20 regional athletic titles. Our one-act play and literary teams continuously compete at the region and state level, and our academic teams bring home first place more than not. We are warriors creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama, because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
And welcome back into the Community Voice Show here on News Talk 1330, WLBB, FM 106.3. And for those watching out on Facebook this morning, appreciate you guys. Brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. Joining me to my left is Coach Michael Cain, Mike Cain. I said I wouldn't call you Michael, and here I am calling you Michael. And Coach Paul Fitz-Simmons, Athletic Director at Carrollton High School. We're talking a little bit about our Carrollton Trojans, and on Monday, a big athletic event, a meeting. But let's talk about Senate Bill 60. We'll talk about the meeting once again at the end, but let's talk about Senate Bill 60 that was passed the early part of the summer. And I'll kind of just read off what I copied from the GHSA. It's actually called the Jeremy Nelson and Nick Blakely Sudden Cardiac Arrest Prevention Act. Jeremy Nelson was a Buford Middle School basketball player, and Nick Blakely was an Archer football player that passed away due to cardiac arrest on the court and on the field. And in accordance with Georgia law, the GHSA is requiring all schools to do a whole bunch of things. And let's go ahead and start by just kind of talking about some of those basic things. You're holding that informational meeting coming up on Monday. Learning hands-on CPR outlined in the law, and let's see, you got to get the student or the parent or guardian of each athlete to sign and keep a copy of file and sue. So a lot of paperwork, I'm sure, is involved, but it's definitely worth every bit of it.
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, the paperwork is really, it's small now. We've gone virtually, we're probably 95% digital with our paperwork now. So we kind of knocked that paperwork out early. To ease some of the pressure off the parents of getting there, but we've got the paperwork in place digitally. We'll have also the paper copies where we can do pen and paper if needed. But we've really that was a big push for us is saving the environment, saving the trees, and saving us some money as far as printing papers for multiple sports and the parents.
Well, and when we go paperless, I was one of those old I was one of those old coaches where I remember, I'd have my little folder, and everybody's information in it, and I'd take that down to the sideline, and then, God forbid a huge storm come down and hit you and get all your stuff wet. So it helps us in that respect too.
So talk about some of the signs. You see a kid on the field. What are some of the signs? Hey, I need to get this kid off the field or off the court or off anywhere.
Well, some of the signs and symptoms that we're gonna talk about. Everyone understands. Or believes they feel what they know what a heart attack looks like. Pain in the shoulder, shortness of breath. And just then that falling out aspect. Yeah. But there's some different, it's just not cardiac arrest that we're talking about. It's just not a good old-fashioned heart attack. There's a couple of different other heart conditions that can affect athletes and especially teens. One of those that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, and it's rare, is what's called commotio cordis. Now that's when you get a direct impact to your chest, to your heart, and it interrupts the electrical signals within the heart and can stop it, just at the just as a snap. So it's just making sure that the parents are aware of, hey, these are a few risks. This is what you need to look for. At the same time, we don't want to put off this doom and gloom thought. This is cardiac arrest and cardiac. Again, we're calling this cardiac awareness. We're not calling this cardiac. It's going to happen. Yeah. We want to put our parents at ease of saying, hey, Carrollton High School, Carrollton City Schools, we've got your kids. When they're with us, they are as safe as they could possibly be if they were over at the ER at Tanner. Okay, so we want the parents to know that we've got the medical professionals here, our coaches are trained, they know how to recognize it, and your kids are going to be safe.
Now, one thing that's also on here you can talk about is concussion policy. Now, one thing I noticed in y'all's padded camps that you did and in some of the scrimmages, you're wearing a certain sort of something on the helmet. Talk about that, and a lot of schools are starting to do that, it seems like.
A lot of schools are going to that. I call it a bonnet that goes over the helmet, and it's padded. And the theory and the thought behind it is that it's going to soften the blow from one helmet to the other helmet and rattling the brain. So that's the thought behind it, and that's the theory behind it. It's done wonders for us, and it's kept our kids safe.
And it might look a little weird, but at the end of the day, it's helping out the kids.
Absolutely. And you can tell that, our numbers have gone down as far as concussions are related. So, you can't, numbers don't lie.
And then finally, I think something that the GHSA has done a pretty good job of doing is the heat policy.
Absolutely.
They've brought in, there's no more two-a-days like in the near past. I miss those days.
Well, it's difficult to do two-a-days with school starting so early.
Right. That too.
So it's very difficult to try to do two-a-days with the requirements of early school starting, teacher meetings, because again, most of our coaches are also their day job is a teacher.
Right.
That's their main job is being a teacher.
And with y'all having a turf field, and I saw an article, I don't know if y'all read the Georgia High School Sports Daily that comes out in the mornings, but they're pretty much every school, the turf fields have just taken over the grass fields in the state of Georgia, which I think is crazy. But obviously a turf field is a little bit hotter than a grass field with if you have those black pellets. But it kind of just depends, I guess, where you are.
Yeah, it balances out, to be honest with you. If the turf field, you get a lot more just what I would call dry heat, to where it's just heat coming off there. You go to a grass field, and after a 30-minute afternoon shower in the state of Georgia, you ever walk out there and that humidity that seeps up from that grass, that can actually send that temperature on our wet bulb skyrocketing as well. So there have been days where our grass has actually been hotter than our turf.
Wow.
I can think of, what was it, Monday that we got that quick afternoon shower that I walked over there and put that heat bulb on there, and it shot up quick. So compared to our turf. It just kind of depends on what's happening inside the environment that day.
So go ahead.
If we could speak on that for just a second.
Yeah.
This past, I think it was probably about 7 or 8, 9 days ago, where we had the heat wave that came through, and it shut us down for about 2 days as far as the heat on the field. We weren't allowed to get out and practice. And Coach Cain went out, and he went on the field and recorded the heat and where it was, and then went on the practice field, and then went in the indoor. Coach, can you speak on that for a second? Tell us what those numbers were.
Substantial. Substantial difference. Now, when I will preface this with, when I went into the indoor, all of our roll-up doors were open, so we still had some of that heat coming through. The fans were on low. We didn't have the exhaust fans trying to suck out the hot air. But it went from not being able to practice outside at all to we can go full pads, no restrictions inside. Yeah. So that's a substantial drop, and that's a substantial advantage for our kids and for our coaches, to where they don't have to adjust practice times, and we can still get the same work in.
You're also not having to get a bus and ship them over to East Lake. And
Correct.
You don't want to get tackled on gym floor. It's happened to me a couple of times.
It's just one of those things when we talk about easing the mind of our parents. Our kids will never lose another day of practice due to heat ever again. As soon as this indoor is opened up and we're ready to roll, they will never lose another day.
Yeah. And you can't put a price tag on a kid.
No.
At the end of the day, this is what it's all about.
Correct.
You can't, if that indoor facility saves one child, it's worth every penny, how much ever was donated or spent, regardless.
Now, just so y'all know the numbers. So anything above 92. Now, we're not talking 92 degrees temperature. It's based on what we call wet bulb globe temperature, which takes into air temperature, wind speed, humidity, and throws it into a formula and spits me out a number. So anything above 92 on that there's no practice outside. Anything from 90 to 92, it is no equipment.
So regardless, even you can't go half pads or shells?
No, if it's 90 to 92, it's nothing. You have no protective equipment and you only get 1 hour.
Wow.
If you go from 87 to 89.9, then you can go helmets and shoulder pads, but you can only go for 2 hours. Below that, you're pretty much good for going there. And we're talking football, but this does equate to softball and catcher's equipment and things like that. So but below 87, then you can kind of go full pads or full practice for as long as you want. It's just you've got your required certain water breaks. But just so we got the numbers, on Monday, Tuesday, temperatures were skyrocketing, and above 92 to where we couldn't go outside. But I go into the indoor on Tuesday after I've taken the measurements on the turf and on the grass, and it was way above. And then we go in there and it's 83, I believe it was 83, 81, inside our indoor on the wet bulb. So, that's and it's a substantial temperature change and heat index change as well. I think temperature wise, I think we were talking close to 103, maybe. If we're just talking air temperature, we go inside and it was 91, and a really comfortable 91 with no humidity and nice airflow and things like that. So it was like being down at the beach, down in Gulf Shores.
Yeah, awesome. We're gonna go into our last break. When we come back, we'll talk a little about the other sports. Obviously, there's issues there too, not just with football. And we'll give y'all one more chance to talk about Monday's meeting, all right here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama, because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
At Oak Mountain Academy, our daily schedule includes convocation, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. By doing so, we build a family-like community where all students grow and flourish and personal faith is encouraged. Through community service and a historical approach to biblical study, our students are taught the value of the warrior way, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Oak Mountain Academy. We are a family creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
And welcome back in. It's the Community Voice Show brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. Joining me is Coach Cain and Coach Paul Fitz-Simmons at Carrollton High School. And let's talk a little bit more. We've talked about football. We've talked about the Senate bill. Let's talk a little bit about the other sports and their kind of medical side of things.
Well, medically for all of our kids are actually really healthy right now. So that's awesome for us. Our sports have gotten off to an incredible start this fall. And myself and Coach Bright, we're doing everything we can to make sure they stay healthy and stay safe, and we're just rocking and rolling through this first month of the year. And
I think people need to understand it's a lot more than just icing folks and rolling ankles and taping fingers.
Correct.
It's a nutrition. It's a daily schedule. It's not just I've wrapped your ankle, good to go. It's a common commitment throughout the whole week.
Absolutely, and it takes commitment from the kid as well to get in there. When we have our parent meetings with the Coach Bright and myself, we tell the parents regularly, we're not going to track your kid down. We've got almost 600 student athletes at the high school, just at the high school. We go to the junior high, and you've got almost 300 student athletes at the junior high. So between Coach Bright and myself, we're taking care of close to 1,000 kids every single year. So that's big for us to make sure that the kids are where they're supposed to be. So it's we're trained in injury prevention, recognition, treatment, and rehabilitation for those injuries, for those athlete specific injuries. So it's a big job.
Let's talk about real quick before we get to the final kind of talking athletics at Carrollton High School. A couple of deaths that have been caused by the heat and just some of the just kind of wacky stuff that's kind of happened. Let's discuss that a little bit.
Well, obviously, we've had two deaths here in the state of Georgia within the past 6 months. There was a young lady in DeKalb County that passed away. Came out that she also had a heart abnormality as well that wasn't picked up anywhere, which, going back to the sudden cardiac stuff, it's one of the big things that we need from parents is a complete medical history,
a physical. That's why
it's the physical, but on that they ask specific cardiac questions. So making sure that you give us a complete history, helps us protect your kids. I'm pretty sure it's a 3 or 4 times more likely to suffer a cardiac event if you've got a first-degree relative, so mom, dad, brother, and I believe a paternal grandfather, grandmother that's had a cardiac issue. So your child is 3 or 4 times more likely to suffer a cardiac issue if you've got that first-degree relative as well that's had one. Having that good family history helps us as well. But you had the young lady at DeKalb, which is terrible, and then last week the young lady down in Clayton County that passed away during a basketball workout. It's terrible. I mean, a lot of our athlete deaths are preventable, and it's one of those things that I think I called Coach Fitz-Simmons probably the next day and said, this kept me up at night. And I want parents to understand this. Myself, Coach Bright, Coach Fitz-Simmons, we're all in. We want to protect your kids, and things like this that come across the news, it scares us and it keeps us in, and we reevaluate everything that we do. Are we doing everything the right way that we can? And for the most part, and things that need to be tweaked, we tweak them.
It strives you to be better, and ultimately that's what y'all want to do. You want to be the best, and unfortunately sometimes the tragedy like that makes other people strive to be better.
Correct.
As we kind of get ready to wrap up here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3 on the Community Voice Show, brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. Coach, let's talk one more time about the meeting on Monday with all the parents. Any last words to kind of talk to them about real quick?
Well, as I said before, we're gonna meet Monday at the MAC at 6:30, and it's just basically all things medical, all policies, all procedures, letting parents know what we have in place for their children, and that they are in a very, very safe place. We have a lot of resources here that enables us to do that, Tanner being right across the road as well. And also, letting them know on the other side, the policies, academic policies that we have, student code of conduct that we have, our drug and alcohol policy. They need to know, what's that about. And as far as, we're going to talk about social media as well, and what they need to know about that.
Social media can get you in trouble faster than just about anything these days.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Final thought real quick as we wrap up. Talk about athletics. Obviously, fall sports are off and rolling. Football starts next week. We're kicking off football tomorrow right here on Graddick Communications.
Right.
We're super excited about it. So talk about the fall sports real quick.
Well, it's we're rocking and rolling right now. Softball started strong. They just got through last week with their big tournament they had, and right now I think we're 3-0 in the region. I think we're either 8-1 or 9-1. It's Coach Lee, tradition.
He's Paulding tonight over at Carrollton. So
that's
if you've
right.
got nothing going on, head on over.
That's
there.
right. Lisa Phillips is doing a great job. In volleyball, they're rocking and rolling. I want to say they're 13-2 right now.
Awesome.
We have a new head coach, Lauren Sanders, who's a Carrollton alumni. She's doing a great job. We expect both of those teams to really compete for the region title. Our volleyball team, believe it or not, back-to-back area champs.
All right.
So
awesome.
That's fantastic. Cross country's rolling. They actually had their first meet this past weekend. and they both girls and boys finished first in that meet for the 5A schools, and we really expect football to really rock and roll this year too.
Well, it's hard to believe it's here, and we wish y'all nothing but the best of luck on Monday. Hopefully all the parents accept what you guys are trying to pass to them. And thank you all for listening on the News Talk 1330 WFM or FM 106.3, and on the Facebook page. You can go back and watch it a little bit later on, and also go on our podcast section.
China taking
Community
a
Voice,
somewhat
brought to you by
softer
Tanner Health
line
System.
in the trade dispute
And-
with the U.S., now appealing to Washington to meet each other halfway and